Okay, perfect. So thank you very much to all for joining. And just to recap the what I was saying before regarding the aim of this lesson. So this lesson is inside the course on climate negotiation and agri-innovation that you can find on the Virtual Academy platform. So what is the goal of the course? Basically is to little bit understand what's going on the climate negotiation regarding especially agriculture, but also like understand what's going on the agri innovation. So the last time we finished with like the Coronivia joint work on agriculture. Maybe I just take back the slide from the last time so we can better understand, and then we can go further on the slide of today. So I will make a brief recap of the lesson of the last time. So just give me 1 minute that I take the previous slide. But just to say, I want, during that I'm opening the new slide, I want to ask to you, what do you remember regarding the previous lesson? First of all, how many of you were like present during the previous lesson on Coronivia joint work? So just raise your hand. Yeah, the ones that were already there. I don't know how many of you were like present in the previous lesson. So nobody? No, I cannot believe. Okay, so let's make a brief recap from the previous lesson. So here I have my screen. Okay, so just quickly go through the slide. Let's go. So we talked last time about Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture. That is a program, a framework program from the UN, properly to deal with agriculture. And it's organized into like workshops and submission. Workshops are moments in which the representative of states, the representative of farmers and constituencies are discussing and analyze some topics. And submission are, we can say, the commitments that the states are like doing to foster like the application of the principle of climate smart agriculture and sustainable agriculture. As we say, the Coronivia joint work is a landmark because for the first time with the Coronivia, we came out with some we can say discussion into the UNFCCC, so into the UN, about the sustainable agriculture and climate, we can say. We analyzed some videos, and now I also show one other video on the lesson of today to recap the Coronivia joint work. So let me share my screen on another thing, so, and also share my audio. Okay, here we are. So in this video, we can say we are resuming the Coronivia joint work to go into the new program, because Coronivia joint work is like we can say a program from the UN that is finished. Okay, so currently we have some news on that. So I saw that someone is joining, so let them enter. Okay, so in this brief video, we summarize basically the lesson of the last time.
Climate change and agriculture are inextricably linked. On one hand, climate change threatens agriculture, food security, and the livelihoods of those who depend on it. But at the same time, it is estimated that our food systems could be responsible for a third of global greenhouse gas emissions. Established under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 2017, Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture officially acknowledges the unique role that agriculture can play in tackling climate change. This work has brought UNFCCC parties from around the world together to discuss a number of areas related to agriculture, climate change, and food security. As we approach the end of the Coronivia Roadmap, a report on the outcomes of this work is due to be presented at the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Although it is difficult to predict the outcomes of Coronivia discussions, it is possible to identify 5 categories that could offer various combinations or pathways for action. Parties could identify technical priorities of work where there is consensus, or they could determine institutional modalities for their implementation under the Convention. They could extend the roadmap to discuss present or new topics, recognize the work performed so far, or Coronivia joint work on agriculture could remain dormant with no agreement reached. Not all these possibilities demonstrate the same level of ambition or effort. Coronivia will only be a true success once all these dimensions are addressed and concrete action is taken. Achieving a more sustainable, resilient and food-secure agriculture in the face of a worsening climate crisis will take time. However, the end of the Coronivia Roadmap provides a unique opportunity to take an important step towards meaningful change.
Okay, so we saw in very brief the full path of Coronivia, and the video was saying one important thing, that Coronivia at the moment of the video was at the end of the roadmap, and now is ended basically. So I'll go back to my slides so we can show the roadmap of the Coronivia. So as I said, we understand the last time that the program of UNCCC on climate and so on are working into the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This is like a big framework of the UN for making global decisions regarding topic related to climate. And the way on how these decisions are running is through agreement, like the Paris Agreement, like the Kyoto Protocol, and so on, with the declarations. So, of course, like the declaration that are putting all the, we can say, the common values that all the states, for example, agree on, or, for example, with work programs. So, initiatives that have a roadmap, have like a program on the beside the along the years to develop the certain topic that is important to address in that moment. And so let's see, I will start from here. Let's see which was this roadmap for the Coronivia. So we started, as I said, we can say in 2018, because the Coronivia was launched in 2017. But
Hello, sir. You are muted. Mr. Domenico.
sorry, you cannot hear me. Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry. I will repeat a little bit. So I was saying that this was a framework that started in 2018 and ended into like 2021. So there was a roadmap, as I said, from the United Nations, and a roadmap with some milestones. So milestones were divided in submission and workshop in order to achieve important decisions. Actually, this is the way on how the negotiations under climate are working. They are working under agreements like the Paris Agreement that is making the, we can say, the enabling environment for a series of action. It's working on declarations. So declarations are putting the basic values of of important things into paper, so every state, every entity can refer to declaration, but also work programs. So more, we can say, long-term plans that cover multiple years, in which year we need to achieve some outputs. So the video that we show at the beginning was before COP26, and actually was wondering which type of achievement could the Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture reach out. So when we were here, which could be the point? So now we are in 2023, of course, and we already know what happened in 2021. And especially it happens that the Coronivia has closed, and from COP27, so from November 2022, Coronivia has reached a point, so there has been reached some agreements, and a new program has been launched in Sharm el-Sheikh. And that's basically the topic of the discussion of today. It is the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on implementation, on climate action, on agriculture and food security. So one question to you: what is the first thing that you see that is very change from, we can say, Coronivia joint work in agriculture, from this new joint work that came, like the name came from the city, but what's your, we can say, first feedback on when you see this shift? I want to ask first to you. What do you see that is changed into this joint work? The first thing. I don't know if any one of you wants to try. Don't worry, it's not like a test, it's not an exam. So feel free to. So the first thing that has been changed from, we can say, this work program that was till 2021 to this new work program is the name. Okay, so it could happen that okay, once the Coronivia joint work on agriculture will finish, the new program could basically be called Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on agriculture. Okay, we just finish one and we open another one, and we just call, we can say, another way, Sharm el-Sheikh joint work, but agriculture can stay. But this has not stay completely, or let's see, the denomination of the new work program related to agriculture radically changed, also because the action and the implementation of the joint work program has been radically revised, we can say. Where is radical revised? First of all, we like shift from just deal with agriculture in general. Okay, agriculture can be a very wide topic. We shift from that to climate action to agriculture. So we have to make implementation. We have to put on the real things all the discourse that were coming, for example, from the Coronivia. And also, very important, a new element has been added to the discussion on this point. That is food security. Okay, so why do you think food security need to deal with climate action? And okay, agriculture is easy, but why food security is needed to be connected to climate action? I want to ask to you. I don't know if you have some guesses. So in your opinion, I just want to ask to you, in your opinion, why we need to connect climate action with food security? Beside agriculture, we can say. Okay, Trevor, please.
Okay, yeah. It's like climate affect agriculture.
Okay.
Agriculture is affected. Then food security also is being affected. So when we dealt with a climate, then we will be able to have food. We control the actions of climate that will be affecting our agriculture. As a
Okay.
result, food security, we will have insecure food. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Very good answer. Congratulations, Trevor. Thank you. Other opinion or other answer? Done,
I
please.
can say
Yeah.
that climate action is connected with food security. This is because, like, for example, here in Africa, many people depend on rain. And for example, when the months where they expect the rain to come, and if they don't come, so the food that will be produced will much less. Then the prices of foods go up, and you find that the food is not enough for the people.
Okay. Very good answer. Also the same. Let's take a last one, which could be. Anybody that wants to get, we can take just last one and then we can go ahead. Okay, I will complete myself. So another reason, the two answers are very correct. So congratulations, guys, because this was like a very good point, and it can contribute to have like a wider vision on our concept. But also, I will add also another important thing. So Trevor was saying that, of course, agriculture production is affected by climate change. Susan was saying that rain is also affecting and like availability of water is affecting food security. But also, I will add another element that is extreme events. So we can say hot or temperatures and water availability are, we can say, long-term effect of climate on agriculture. But there are more short terms, we can say, impact, like for example the extreme events for the floods, but even the droughts. So the heavy rains as well, the absence of heavy rain are affecting very hardly food security, or hurricanes, or other like big extreme events that are caused by climate change are affecting food security. And that's the very why by which this new joint work program on Sharm el Sheikh was connected and was like very pushed to have food security into the nomination. COP27, the last COP that has been done in Egypt, was called also the COP of adaptation to climate change. You know, here we say the previous lesson that adaptation means that I have to cope with the current events related to climate change. Okay, and some current events are affecting also food security. Okay, and that's why like a big discussion has been raised into COP27 to include food security as an element of, we can say, the strategy that the climate environment, the climate space should have on agriculture. So let's go ahead. So we were saying that Coronivia basically was a joint work that stayed till 2021, and now, of course, it delivers something. So respect to the scenario that we were seeing in the first video, fortunately, the not agreeing one scenario has been not has been not take place. Moreover, like the very like result of the Coronivia has been that a series of outputs, a series of final decision and final consideration has been reached out from the discussion and from the full roadmap. So the first of course, outcome has been the creation of a new work program. This is a 4-year timeline work program, so a little bit, we can say, shorter than Coronivia. That was called properly Sharm el Sheikh work program. Moreover, you can see there's some highlights that are very important. Now we are going more on the topic. So what has been the result of this introduction of agriculture into climate change? Is that we realize and we recognize what also we farmers already know, we can say, that soil health and soil carbon and soil fertility are elements that are connected to the effects of climate change in agriculture, that we have to foster soil nutrient management, okay? Because if you want to be climate smart, and here is standing the very, you can say, deep meaning of our action as youth farmers for climate smart agriculture, you have to implement new practices that better manage the soil nutrients. Also, the livestock have an importance. And in general, we have also in scaling up our activity, for example, if you want to start from a yard to another, in our scaling up, if we have to have like a long-term vision and we have to make long-term investment, we need to consider inclusive, sustainable, and climate resilient agricultural systems. Okay. So in the past, we can say, or in traditional agriculture, from, we can say, the Green Revolution, the mantra, the keyword was to have more productiveness, just to drain the soil. Indeed, the new vision of agriculture that is climate smart is not considering as a priority productivity, at least, okay? But of course, we need to increase productivity. It is one of the pillars of our climate smart agriculture manifesto, we can say, but also we need to be inclusive, sustainable, and climate resilient, okay? So productivity is not just alone, but there is inclusiveness, sustainability, and climate resilience. Then the use of organic fertilizer and enhanced manure management is making climate resilient food production, okay, and climate resilient food production systems. And we need to consider this as a key highlight from our discussion. And of course, to do all these wonderful things, we need also tools to assess and monitor adaptation and their co-benefits, okay? So these were the outcomes from Coronivia that were like the result, we can say, from the first opening to agriculture. So the concept was introduced into the climate change discussion, and the first insight that came out has been that, and has been recognized by Coronivia Joint Work by a joint letter that was signed by around 100 organizations and negotiators and ministers, including also urging also the inclusion of food system in the new Coronivia mandate. Here we saw the linkage with we can say the new work program. At the end of Coronivia in 2021, at COP 26, all the we can say the signers of the joint letter urged to include food systems on the Coronivia mandate. And why do you think, as I want to ask to you, if you were a negotiator or if you were like an organization representative and you were there and when this letter was signed, why, in your opinion, we need to include food systems into the, we can say, the discussion on agriculture and climate change? So let's role play for one moment, and let's imagine that you are one of the board members of the signature of this letter. You are taking part of the discussion on Coronivia, and you have to take your voice and bring your argumentation for including food system. if you were in this situation, which could be your idea? So I want to ask to you why we need to include the food system into climate change and agriculture, of course. So why do you, when we saw, of course, let's first of all make a definition of food system, okay? So agriculture, of course, is producing food, is producing the product of the crops and so on. But this can be food, but not always. So sometimes there is need to be process on the product from just the soil to make the fruit or make the vegetable or the plant eatable. Okay. Moreover, I also cook the food sometime, and when I cook, I also produce some waste. Okay. So all this chain, we can say, and all these, we can say, value chain is a food system. Okay. So starting from this definition of food system, I want to ask to you, why do you think that it's important to consider food system into climate action, we can say, and not just agriculture, for example, not just production, for example? Just a question. Again, it's not an exam as before, as Trevor and Susan said. Don't worry, it's just as exchange of opinions. Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, okay. In food system, there are some processes that may affect climate. Like during production, we might have like fertilizer, or when we would like maybe to use fertilizer, might also affect the ecosystem in other ways. Also, it's okay. Food system is like a value chain. Somehow, it's like a chain. There are a lot of process, or there are a lot of process that that require to maybe to have a finished product. So in those processes, there are some other processes that may affect the environment. So when we consider them in a good way, we might have control other factors that might affect the climate. That's it. That's my opinion. That is.
Thank you, Trevor. Perfect. Again, congratulations. Very good points. Other opinions? I don't know if there are other opinions. Even though, let's start from Trevor consideration. Correct, completely correct, because the value chain has different stages. So the food system has different stages, and each one of that stage can affect in a way climate. Okay, and even though we just saw one part, so the production, for example, the food provision, so how the way on how community are like producing and consuming food is not just we can say a linear transfer, is not just from the soil to the mouth, from the soil to the mouth and so on. No, it's a complex system, because there is the production, there is the treatment, then there is the cooking, then there is the, of course, eating, the food provision, and then there is we can say but moreover, first of all, there is also the marketing. Then the food can go into the dishes, and then there are wastes. Okay, and for example, wastes, if they are not sustainable, they can affect soils, and the soils are affecting the production, and so it's a cycle. It's not just a linear thing. So we cannot deal just with the production itself, because even though we are falling into the, we can say, the previous scenario, by which we're just considering soil extraction, soil consumption. We just use the soil for grabbing resources, grabbing nutrients, and of course, in this way, the soil and the resources are gonna drain very fast. So if we want to manage climate action and climate, we can say, resilient agriculture, we need to consider the full work chain. That's why also, of course, the negotiator and the representative organization pushed to have a more holistic and more comprehensive concept regarding properly food systems. And in fact, in COP27, presidency themselves, they started as like a lot of roundtable, a series of high-level roundtable discussion featuring food security. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this was happening really at the beginning of the discussion at COP, and food security was like we can say the buzzword into like COP27. And we were discussing hunger and malnutrition exacerbated by climate change. As we was saying before, if harvest is not coming and I'm just malnourished or I just feel hunger, I feel more hunger because there is no production. So then climate resilient agriculture and food system requires political will. Of course, if even I'm a small farmer, but there is no way on which is more convenient to or I can have subsidies or I can have like policies that can help me to implement climate smart agriculture, I will be, we can say, more prone to use fertilizer like chemical fertilizer because I need the production. And to support the transition to climate resilience, we need political frameworks, we need political wills. Then, food systems transformation is essential to combat climate change. Again, food systems transformation, not just agriculture. Because if I just make, I don't know, climate smart agriculture, and then I waste all my debris in an unsustainable way, I produce a lot of, I don't know, packages that are made of plastic, that I consume a lot of petroleum to make them, is not resilient. Is resilient just one part of the food system, not the whole chain. And of course, finance and investment are crucial, are critical. To change the system from a state to another, I need to invest some resources, or I need to invest, we can say, human or economical capital. So I need to put some energy to change the system. So this was like some initiative. Here another like list of different organizations that like were working during COP27 to address the food system topic. For example, very interesting one, the African Food System Transformation Initiative that joined over 70 African-owned agribusiness to join together to make a transformative change in agriculture. Yearly warning for all, this is very important. So I was saying before that agriculture and food system are connected and climate change are connected because also extreme events are affecting such kind of things. So it's important to address them, okay? And here you can see, we can say the final result of all the discussion that's come out into these tables, round tables, and so on. And this was COP27, okay? So as I said before, in this lesson, we want to continue the story from the Coronivia. Last time we addressed the main framework of UNFCCC. We addressed the Coronivia joint work that was running till 2021. Today, in today's lesson, we are facing the present, actually. That is the Sharm Sheik joint work on agriculture and all these initiatives to address food system. So, as I said, this is a full overview of pledges and roadmaps and programs and so on. of course, we have also sometimes the problem that all these pledges, all these initiatives are declared, but they are running not completely perfectly, we can say. But at least, as I said before, the issue of food system is becoming integral part of the discussion of agriculture and climate change. So, of course, this is valid into the climate negotiation, but why we are dealing with these topics? Okay, maybe to know what's running on the world about climate change in agriculture, even you can say at the UN level, but also because it's important from our side, also as a small farmers, to understand these relationships, because the change is starting from the grassroots. Okay, so if we understand that, as Trevor was correctly saying, that the change, the radical change and transformation of the system is not just dealing the production, but is dealing the full food system, we also in our communities, we also in our country, in our farm and so on, we can address, even from our small part, this radical shift towards climate action implementation. Okay, so that's just to give you a reason also to how to start, why to study and why to talk about these things, because things are decided maybe globally, but the action starts from the grassroots. Okay, of course, if there are any question or comment, just stop me and I will stop, and then we can address the question. So again, other initiative from food agriculture sustainable transformation. I cannot, this one was the previous one, sorry. And indeed, let's come with the Sharm and Sheik joint work. Now let's analyze a little bit this new program. So this new program started with an adaptation agenda. Okay, I was saying before that COP27 we can say also rename it as the COP of adaptation. Okay, because for several reasons. First of all, it was one of the first African COPs. So the COP that was held by an African country, that was Egypt, and in the African region, there is like a strong element of understanding on how to cope with the current situation. So maybe, for example, if in Europe we need to deal with mitigation, so how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, in other regions of the world, the very compelling, we can say, problems are dealing with adaptation. And so this was, for example, the why in this like COP27, there was a strong attention on this. As I said, the Sharm el Sheikh joint work on implementation on climate smart agriculture and food security started with an agenda on food security and agricultural system. So the agenda has 4 adaptation outcome targets. So these were like the overarching targets of the program: to have climate resilience and sustainable agriculture increased by yields by 70%, and emission reduced by 21% in, we can say, in the time span of the program, so 4 years. Okay, half share of the production loss per capita and food waste, so address, we can say, food security. This with a, we can say, baseline from 2019. To have healthy alternative protein capture of 50% of the global meat and seafood markets. You see that here there is like the very first strong element related to not just agricultural production and livestocking, but food system at all. So I know that surely you know that the production of meat, we can say a massive production of meat, is one of the main cause of production of methane. That is one of the biggest climate greenhouse gas, sorry. So one of the big cause of climate change. But of course, we are producing meat because there are a lot of people around the world, and now I'm talking globally, that are consuming a lot of meat. So they use meat as a source of protein. But there could be alternatives, okay? For example, the beans, the other fruits and other, you can say, vegetables are very full of proteins. So first of all, we have to reduce the consumption of meat because it's not needed. So such a great amount of meat. And secondly, we have to find alternatives in order to, we can say, have less production and less, we can say, impact of livestocking into climate change, like you say, to greenhouse gas emissions. And indeed, to respond to this, to increase the global consumption of fruit, vegetable, and seeds at least 1.5 times. Okay, so we need to go more on, we can say, a type of diet that is based on vegetables. Okay, I will not say here vegetarian or not and so on. Just we have to increase the production of and consumption on vegetables. So here we can see the structure of this work program, as I show you the structure of the Coronivia. This is similarly the structure of the Sharm and Sheik work program. Just to tell some some hints about that. So the issue is to address the 4 billion vulnerable peoples that are affected by climate change and famine and food security by 2030. And the contribution to the program are several. So not just, we can say, the initiative that has been launched in COP27, but also Climate Champions Race Resilient Campaign, adaptation and resilience solution across all sectors. So again, food system, not just the agriculture sector, but the full food chain sector and so on. So all these initiatives are contributing to the Sharm el Sheikh adaptation outcomes. Okay. So let's go more into our present, like properly kind of today, and I will report you briefly the results on. So Sharm el Sheikh Joint Work now is a program that is still running, has been adopted into COP27, and now is on running. So we'll finish in 4 years, but we can say, in the middle of the program. And in the middle of the program also are the results from some intermediate negotiation that has been happened in Bonn this June. So I will not make too long and too complicated because this was not the goal of the lesson. But just to tell you, we discussed it a little bit last time. These discussion, these negotiation are running under the UNFCCC, that periodically is organizing the Conference of Parties, the so-called Conference of Parties, the COPs, but also during the year there are intersessionals, or we can say intermediate negotiations to prepare the COPs. So, and you can say an intermediate milestone from one year to another. And this was happened, for example, in Bonn this June. I was there, some other colleagues from GCSAYN was there, and so on. What's happening there? That there was discussion, of course, to frame the work of the Sharm el Sheikh joint work and so on. Unfortunately, the discussion was not so fruitful, so not a big achievement, we can say, has been shared. Some as for we can say Coronivia, there has been workshops and submissions, so we can say strategies and program to respond to the objective of the Sharm el Sheikh joint work, but unfortunately few outcomes, like just a procedural document that has been agreed by all the parties, all the representatives of the states. but it's important to notice that inside the discussion, to achieve all these goals, terms like precision agriculture, artificial intelligence, climate smart agriculture has started to like enter into the discourse with the pros and cons, you can say. Also, biotech has been mentioned as a possible, we can say, solution to face to address the goals of the Sharm el Sheikh joint work. With pros and cons, because the very risk of addressing this concept is that the corporates or big industries and so on can jeopardize, we can say, the transformation of the food system in a sustainable way. But okay, we have to be aware, we have to be, we can say, very attentive, also as, we can say, civil society organization, also have small farmers and so on, in the sense that these, we can say, strategies and this concept will not fall into the, we can say, the bad hands of people that want to exploit this situation. But in any case, this is just a small comment to share with you. This was the result from June. Now let's go in not to the present, but a step from the future. First of all, I don't know if there are questions regarding the Sharm el Sheikh joint work. If you have some comments or questions, curiosities, and so on. To resume and to make it more clear, we started liaisoning with the previous lesson, talking about Coronivia, that is one of the programs for international negotiations. Then we saw that Coronivia has ended, and we explore what's happened into COP27. So in COP27, a new program has launched that has been the Sharm el Sheikh joint work, and with new goals that also consider food system, consider adaptation, and so on and so forth. And for the 4 years coming, we are working inside this work program. And that's it. So just to summarize a bit what we say today till now, if there are no questions, let's go to the, we can say, second topic of the lesson of today. That is the UN food system stock-taking movement. This is something, as I said, that we face the present, and now we are even in the future, as like near future, because it will be Monday. But I mean, so this is also a very important moment for every actor that is dealing with the agriculture, food system, and so on, that is happening into the, we can say, climate and agriculture space. So on from 24 to 26 of July, there will be in Rome the stock-taking moments. And so what means stock-taking moments? Actually, it's kind of, we can say, an assembly where every actor, every ministries, civil society, industries, business sectors, and so on, are gathering together and say, okay, let's assess which is the point in which we arrive to boost the sustainable development goals in agriculture, to boost transition in agroecology, and so on. So it's kind of, okay, let's make a clear checkpoint on what's going on and what we achieve and what we need to achieve in the future. And this is very important because it's happening now in July, visioning another very important meeting that we need all to know. That is the, we can say, the Sustainable Development Goal Assembly in New York, that will happen in September. Surely most of you has followed all the lessons regarding the SDG implementations and SDG summits and so on. So in New York, there will be in September the SDG summit, and this moment of food stock system stock taking is properly addressed to, we can say, launch and make the synthesis before these other important events. As you can see, is an high-level meeting, will be crowdly participated. We will be there also. Surely I will be there, but also some other colleagues will join from Africa. And in case of need, of course, don't hesitate to contact me if you are in Rome. But it's important that these moments are attended also from farmers organizations, civil society, and so on. Because as I said, it's a moment where you can connect with the other stakeholders of the food chain, so the other stakeholders of the food system, and also is a moment by which we can take inspiration and knowledge on how to implement the sustainable development goals also into agriculture. So I will now we are like acknowledging this moment, but I will also report to you after the event the important points that are happening for that. As I was saying, yeah, the number of people, here some numbers about how many are pushing into healthy diets and how many are not, and so on. But these 3-day meetings in Rome will be fostering, as I said before, the SDG summit in September. And this is very important for the community, we can say, that is dealing with food security and food systems. And it's important properly to implement better the sustainable development goals. This is the agenda, we can say, of the moment. So there will be several plenary sessions, also regional plenary session. So I will share with you this agenda, and I will update if I can, even from there, in order to have a full, you can say, comprehension and knowledge about what's happening during these 3 days. So that's it on my side for today. As I said, the very topic where the Sharm el Sheikh Work Program and the UN Food Systems Stocktaking moment. I will upload all this material and further material for more, we can say, in deep into the platform. But of course, now let's take some moment for questions or comments or any other interaction that you want to achieve now. So the floor now is to you. Okay, if you have no praise, please.
No, I don't have any question. You know, it's a mistake.
Thank you, praise. So if there are no questions, we can interact eventually into the chat. I will charge the recording even into the chat and into the virtual platform. So thank you for attending. And for now, just a communication on the climate change negotiation syllabus and curricula. So we will have like a summer break. So on August, we will not have lessons, but we will reprise in September with some colleagues that will, from UNFCCC, I invited into the lectures some colleagues from FAO and from UNFCCC, and you can follow directly by them the concept that we addressed together now. So we will talk about the climate smart agriculture, the climate smart agriculture alliance, Sharm el Sheikh Work Program, and so on and so forth. So I will keep update. In the meanwhile, have a nice summer, and thank you for attending the course. Bye-bye. Thank you.